Keanu Reeves saves Beyoncé from fire. It was supposed to be an ordinary evening at the Metropolitan Arts Center, where Hollywood's elite gathered for a charity gala. The red carpet glittered with stars, each one more dazzling than the last. Beyoncé, dressed in a stunning pale pink gown, was the centerpiece of the event. Her smile radiated as she greeted fans and posed for photographers. Keanu Reeves, known for his down-to-earth demeanor, arrived quietly, avoiding the limelight. He wasn't one for grand entrances, but he had promised a close friend he would attend the event. Wearing a sleek black leather jacket over a simple shirt, he moved through the crowd with ease, exchanging polite nods and greetings. Inside, the gala was in full swing. Guests mingled, glasses of champagne in hand, as a live orchestra played softly in the background. Keanu found a quiet corner to sit and observe, while Beyoncé graced the stage to deliver a heartfelt speech about the cause they were supporting, raising funds for underprivileged children's education. The evening was going smoothly until the smell of smoke began to creep through the hall. At first, no one noticed. The orchestra played on, and the conversations continued. But then came the faint crackle of flames and a sudden flicker of light through one of the tall windows. Panic spread like wildfire as people began to realize what was happening. "Fire!" someone shouted, and the room erupted into chaos. Keanu's instincts kicked in immediately. While most guests rushed toward the exits, pushing and shoving in their desperation to escape, he moved against the crowd, scanning the room for anyone in need of help. On the other side of the hall, Beyoncé was caught in the chaos. Her long gown made it difficult to move quickly, and she was nearly knocked over by the panicked crowd. Her security team had been separated from her in the frenzy, leaving her vulnerable and alone. Keanu spotted her struggling and didn't hesitate. He pushed through the crowd, his calm but determined presence parting the sea of people. "Beyoncé," he called out, his voice cutting through the noise. She turned, her eyes wide with fear and relief. "Keanu," she gasped as he reached her. "Come with me," he said firmly, taking her hand. "We're getting out of here." The fire spread rapidly, consuming the ornate decorations and filling the air with thick, choking smoke. Keanu led Beyoncé through the chaos, his grip on her hand steady and reassuring. But as they neared the main exit, a massive beam collapsed, blocking their path and sending a shower of sparks raining down. "Stay low," Keanu instructed, pulling Beyoncé to the ground to avoid the worst of the smoke. He scanned the room for another way out and spotted a side door leading to the backstage area. "This way," he said, guiding her toward it. The door was locked, but Keanu didn't hesitate. With a powerful kick, he forced it open, revealing a narrow hallway. The two of them moved quickly, the sound of the fire growing louder behind them. Beyoncé clung to his arm, her breath coming in shallow gasps. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice hoarse. "We're not out yet," Keanu replied, his focus unwavering. The backstage area was a maze of corridors and storage rooms, and the smoke was beginning to seep in. Keanu led Beyoncé through the labyrinth, his sharp instincts guiding him toward what he hoped was an exit. Along the way, they encountered several other people, staff members and performers who had been trapped in the chaos. "Follow us," Keanu called out, rallying the group. They moved together, supporting one another as they navigated the treacherous conditions. Finally, they reached a heavy metal door. Keanu tested the handle. It was hot, but it turned. He pushed it open, revealing a staircase that led down to the parking lot. Fresh air rushed in, and the group hurried down the stairs, coughing and gasping for breath. Outside, the night was filled with flashing lights and the sound of sirens. Firefighters were battling the blaze, and paramedics were tending to those who had already escaped. Keanu and Beyoncé emerged into the cool night air, the group they had rescued following close behind. Once they were safely outside, Beyoncé turned to Keanu, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You saved my life," she said, her voice trembling. Keanu shook his head. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Beyoncé said firmly. "You didn't just save me, you helped everyone you could. That's more than most people would have done." Keanu gave her a small smile. "It's what needed to be done." As the paramedics checked them for injuries, the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. The gala had been meant to celebrate hope and generosity, but it had turned into a night of terror and destruction. Yet, amidst the chaos, there had been acts of courage and humanity, acts that reminded everyone of the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Reporters, drawn to the scene by the dramatic fire, gathered outside the barricades, capturing images and footage of the aftermath. When they spotted Beyoncé and Keanu, questions erupted. "Beyoncé, are you all right? Keanu, what happened in there?" Neither of them was in the mood for interviews, but as they stood side by side, their presence became a symbol of hope amid the tragedy. Hours later, as the fire was finally brought under control, Keanu and Beyoncé sat on the back of an ambulance, wrapped in blankets. They were exhausted but grateful to be alive. "Thank you," Beyoncé said again, looking at Keanu. "I don't think I can ever repay you." "You don't have to," Keanu replied. "Just promise me one thing." "Anything," she said. "Keep using your voice for good," he said. "People listen to you, and you can inspire them to do amazing things." Beyoncé smiled, her eyes shining with emotion. "I will. And you? You're a real-life hero, Keanu." He chuckled softly. "I'm just a guy who was in the right place at the right time." The night of the fire was one Beyoncé and Keanu wouldn't forget anytime soon. As they sat outside the smoldering ruins of the Metropolitan Arts Center, the magnitude of the event weighed heavily on them. The fire had consumed much of the building, and while everyone was relieved that there had been no major casualties, the loss of such a historic venue struck a chord in the hearts of many. Beyoncé stayed until the early hours of the morning, speaking with firefighters and thanking the paramedics who had assisted everyone. Keanu, ever the quiet hero, stayed by her side. His calm, steady presence was reassuring, and Beyoncé couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for the man whose quick thinking had saved not only her life but the lives of so many others. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, Keanu turned to her. "You should get some rest," he said gently. "So should you," she replied, her voice still hoarse from the smoke. "But before that, I owe you breakfast. It's the least I can do after everything you've done." Keanu hesitated for a moment before nodding. "All right," he said. "But only if you let me pay for it." Beyoncé laughed, the sound light and genuine despite the heaviness of the night. "Deal." They found a small, quiet diner not far from the site of the fire. The place was nearly empty, save for a few early risers sipping coffee and reading newspapers. The waitress, who immediately recognized both of them, barely contained her excitement as she took their orders. As they waited for their food, Beyoncé leaned back in her chair, studying Keanu. He seemed entirely at ease, even after everything that had happened. "You're pretty calm for someone who just ran through a burning building," she said. He smiled faintly. "I guess I've had some practice. Life throws a lot at you, you learn to roll with it." Beyoncé tilted her head, intrigued. "Have you always been like this? So, grounded?" Keanu shrugged. "Not always. I've made my share of mistakes, faced my share of losses. But those experiences taught me what's important. Staying calm, staying present, that's how you get through the tough moments." His words resonated with her. Despite her success and fame, Beyoncé often felt the weight of expectations and the chaos of a life lived in the spotlight. She admired Keanu's ability to remain centered, even in the face of adversity. As they ate, their conversation shifted to lighter topics: music, movies, and their shared love of motorcycles. Beyoncé was surprised to learn that Keanu had a passion for custom bikes and even co-owned a motorcycle company. "You'll have to come by the shop sometime," he said. "I'll show you around." "Only if you teach me to ride," Beyoncé countered with a playful grin. Keanu chuckled. "Deal. But only if you promise not to run me over." Their laughter filled the diner, drawing curious glances from the other patrons. For a moment, they were just two people, sharing a meal and enjoying each other's company. In the days following the fire, the story of Keanu Reeves saving Beyoncé made headlines around the world. Photos of them emerging from the burning building, covered in soot but alive, became a symbol of resilience and courage. Social media was flooded with posts praising Keanu as a real-life action hero, while Beyoncé's fans expressed relief and gratitude for her safety. But amidst the media frenzy, both Keanu and Beyoncé remained focused on what truly mattered: supporting the victims of the fire and helping to rebuild. They decided to collaborate on a fundraiser, combining their star power to raise money for the Arts Center and the affected community. The event, held just a month later, was a resounding success. Hosted at an outdoor venue, it featured performances, speeches, and an auction of memorabilia donated by some of Hollywood's biggest names. Beyoncé performed a heartfelt acoustic set, dedicating one of her songs to the firefighters who had risked their lives that night. Keanu, ever humble, stayed in the background, ensuring everything ran smoothly. But when Beyoncé invited him on stage to say a few words, the crowd erupted into cheers. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady despite the overwhelming attention. "This isn't about me or Beyoncé. It's about coming together as a community to support those who need it most. I'm honored to be part of something so meaningful." As the months went by, Keanu and Beyoncé remained in touch. Their shared experience had created a bond that went beyond celebrity status. They often exchanged messages, checking in on each other and sharing updates about their respective projects. One day, Beyoncé invited Keanu to visit one of her charities, a program focused on providing arts education to underserved youth. Keanu, always eager to support a good cause, readily agreed. The visit was eye-opening. Keanu watched as young students painted murals, played instruments, and performed skits. Their creativity and enthusiasm were infectious, and he couldn't help but be inspired. "You're doing something incredible here," he told Beyoncé as they toured the facility. "So are you," she replied. "You've inspired so many people, Keanu, more than you realize." Their collaboration didn't stop there. They began brainstorming ways to merge their efforts, combining Beyoncé's focus on the arts with Keanu's passion for mentorship and empowerment. Together, they launched a new initiative called Project Ignite, aimed at providing resources, mentorship, and creative opportunities to young people around the world. The launch of Project Ignite was met with widespread acclaim. The initiative brought together artists, educators, and leaders from various fields to inspire the next generation. Beyoncé and Keanu, despite their busy schedules, remained actively involved, attending events and meeting with participants. One evening, after a particularly successful workshop, Beyoncé and Keanu sat on a bench outside the venue, watching the sunset. The day had been long but fulfilling, and they both felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished. "Do you ever think about how crazy life is?" Beyoncé asked, breaking the comfortable silence. "How one moment can change everything?" "All the time," Keanu replied. "That night at the gala, it was terrifying, but it led to something beautiful." Beyoncé nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "Did. And I'm glad it brought us together." Keanu smiled. "Me too." As Project Ignite continued to grow, so did the bond between Keanu and Beyoncé. Their friendship became a source of strength and inspiration for both of them, reminding them of the importance of connection and the power of coming together for a greater purpose. And though their lives often pulled them in different directions, they always made time for each other, whether it was collaborating on new projects, sharing a meal, or simply catching up over the phone. Their story, born from a moment of chaos and fear, became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of kindness and courage. Together, they proved that even in the face of adversity, hope could rise from the ashes, and that the bonds forged in those moments could light the way forward. Months turned into years, and the impact of Project Ignite surpassed even Beyoncé and Keanu's wildest expectations. The initiative had grown into a global movement, touching the lives of millions of young people. Schools in underserved communities were being equipped with creative programs, mentorship opportunities, and resources that encourage students to dream big and pursue their passions. Beyoncé and Keanu remained deeply involved, despite their hectic schedules. Beyoncé continued her work as a global music icon while Keanu balanced acting and his other philanthropic endeavors. Still, both made it a priority to regularly visit Project Ignite locations, spending time with students and hearing their stories. One memorable visit took them to a school in Detroit, where a group of students had created a short film about overcoming challenges and following their dreams. The screening took place in the school's modest auditorium, which had been refurbished thanks to Project Ignite funding. As the credits rolled, The students received a standing ovation. Beyoncé and Keanu, sitting in the front row, were visibly moved. "That was incredible," Beyoncé said as she approached the young filmmakers after the screening. "You all have so much talent. Don't ever stop creating." Keanu nodded in agreement. "What you've done here is more than just a film. You've told a story that will inspire others. That's what art is all about." The students beamed with pride, their excitement palpable. One of them, a shy boy named Andre, mustered the courage to ask a question. "Do you ever feel scared to try something new? Like, what if it doesn't work?" Keanu crouched to meet Andre's gaze. "I feel scared all the time," he admitted. "But here's the thing. Fear is part of the process. It means you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and that's where the magic happens. Even if things don't go as planned, you'll learn, and that's what matters." Beyoncé chimed in. "He's right. Every big dream comes with risks, but those risks are worth it. Believe in yourself, Andre. You've already shown what you're capable of." Andre's face lit up with newfound confidence. "Thank you," he said quietly. As they left the school, Beyoncé and Keanu reflected on the experience. It was moments like these, they agreed, that made all the hard work worthwhile. "We're doing something bigger than ourselves," Beyoncé said as they walked through the parking lot. "It's humbling." Keanu nodded. "It is. And it reminds me that the world isn't just about what we take, it's about what we give." Their shared philosophy deepened their bond, and over time, their partnership became a powerful example of how two people from different worlds could come together to create meaningful change. While Project Ignite continued to flourish, Beyoncé and Keanu's friendship became the subject of endless media speculation. Paparazzi often captured them at events or working together on the initiative, sparking rumors of a romantic relationship. Neither of them paid much attention to the gossip. Their connection was built on mutual respect and a shared mission, and they valued the authenticity of their friendship over the noise of public perception. Still, the constant attention sometimes became overwhelming. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Beyoncé and Keanu sat in a quiet corner of a rooftop bar, enjoying a rare moment of respite. "Do you ever get used to it?" Keanu asked, gesturing toward the flashing cameras visible on the street below. Beyoncé shook her head. "Not really, but I've learned to focus on what matters. Let them talk. We know the truth." Keanu smiled. "You have a way of keeping things in perspective." "You do too," Beyoncé replied. "It's one of the reasons I value our friendship so much. You remind me to stay grounded." Their conversation turned to lighter topics, and as they laughed and shared stories, the noise of the world faded away. In those moments, they were just two friends, connected by a shared purpose and a genuine appreciation for each other. As the years went on, Project Ignite reached a milestone, its 5th anniversary. To celebrate, Beyoncé and Keanu planned a massive event that would bring together participants, educators, and supporters from around the world. The celebration would feature performances, workshops, and a showcase of the initiative's achievements. The planning process was intense, but both Beyoncé and Keanu poured their hearts into it. They wanted the event to reflect the spirit of Project Ignite, creative, inclusive, and empowering. When the day finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric. The event was held in a sprawling outdoor venue, decorated with colorful banners and art installations created by students. Thousands of attendees filled the space, their excitement palpable. Beyoncé opened the celebration with a powerful performance, her voice echoing across the crowd. She dedicated her set to the young people whose creativity and determination had made Project Ignite a success. Keanu followed with a heartfelt speech, his words inspiring the audience to continue striving for change. "This initiative isn't just about art or education," he said. "It's about giving people the tools to believe in themselves, to see their potential, and to make the world a better place. And that's something we can all be part of." As the event unfolded, Beyoncé and Keanu took time to connect with attendees, listening to their stories and celebrating their achievements. One young artist, a teenage girl named Lila, presented Beyoncé with a portrait she had painted, a stunning depiction of Beyoncé and Keanu standing together, surrounded by the flames from the night of the fire. "It's beautiful," Beyoncé said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you, Lila. This means so much. Keanu, standing beside her, studied the painting. You captured something powerful here, he said. That night was chaotic, but this shows the strength that came out of it. Lila beamed with pride. You both inspire me. Thank you for everything you've done. As the event drew to a close, Beyoncé and Keanu stood together on the main stage, looking out at the sea of faces. The crowd erupted into cheers as they took the microphone to deliver their closing remarks. Tonight is about all of you, Beyoncé said, her voice steady but emotional. Your creativity, your passion, and your resilience are what make Project Ignite possible. We're here because of you. Keanu added, this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. Let's keep building, keep dreaming, and keep creating. Together, we can achieve anything. The applause that followed was deafening, a testament to the impact they had made. In the quiet moments after the celebration, as the venue emptied and the lights dimmed, Beyoncé and Keanu sat on the edge of the stage, taking it all in. We did it, Beyoncé said, a smile spreading across her face. Keanu nodded. We did. And it feels good. It does, she agreed. But there's still so much more to do. Keanu grinned. Then let's get to it. As they sat together, their friendship stronger than ever, they knew one thing for certain. The fire that had brought them together had sparked something extraordinary. A partnership that would continue to change the world, one dream at a time. Following the 5th anniversary celebration of Project Ignite, the initiative became a global phenomenon. Media outlets around the world covered the event, highlighting the achievements of the young participants and the profound impact of Beyoncé and Keanu's collaboration. Donations poured in, and partnerships with influential organizations solidified Project Ignite as one of the most innovative and impactful initiatives of its kind. But for Beyoncé and Keanu, the work was far from over. They saw the anniversary as a stepping stone, not the finish line. Their vision grew even larger. They wanted to expand Project Ignite into areas where creativity and education had been stifled by conflict, poverty, and systemic barriers. One evening, they met in a quiet conference room at the Foundation's headquarters to discuss the next phase. We've done so much, Beyoncé said, her fingers tracing a map of regions they were planning to target. But there are still so many places where kids don't even have basic access to education, let alone creative outlets. Keanu leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. If we're going to make this work, we need to focus on building partnerships with local leaders, people who know these communities better than we ever could. Beyoncé nodded. Agreed. And we need to ensure that what we bring to these areas is sustainable. It's not enough to just show up, we need to leave behind systems that empower them to keep growing. The two spent hours brainstorming, their ideas flowing freely. By the time they left the meeting, they had the framework for an ambitious global expansion plan that would bring Project Ignite to some of the most underserved and overlooked communities in the world. The first location they chose for the expansion was a small, war-torn village in Eastern Africa. The community had been ravaged by years of conflict, leaving its schools destroyed and its children without hope for the future. Beyoncé and Keanu visited the village personally, determined to see the challenges firsthand and build relationships with the locals. The visit was humbling. They met families who had lost everything but still held on to their resilience. They met children who dreamed of becoming doctors, artists, and engineers despite never having set foot in a functioning classroom. And they met elders who shared their wisdom and hopes for a brighter future. One afternoon, as Beyoncé and Keanu sat with a group of children under the shade of a large tree, a young girl named Amina approached them. She held a small, tattered notebook filled with sketches of buildings and bridges. "Are you an artist?" Beyoncé asked gently. Amina nodded shyly. "I want to be an architect," she said. "I want to rebuild our village." Keanu smiled. "That's an incredible dream, Amina. And you can make it happen?" The interaction stayed with both of them. Amina's determination became a symbol of why they were doing this work. The first steps in rebuilding the village's school were challenging but rewarding. Project Ignite partnered with local leaders, architects, and educators to design a space that would serve as both a school and a community center. The building was constructed using sustainable materials and incorporated local art and cultural elements to make it a true reflection of the community's identity. Beyoncé and Keanu returned for the grand opening 6 months later. The entire village gathered to celebrate, their faces alight with hope and pride. Amina was among the first students to enroll in the school, her notebook of sketches now filled with even more ambitious designs. "This isn't just a building," Beyoncé said during her speech at the opening ceremony. "It's a place where dreams can take root and grow. And it's proof that even in the darkest times, hope can light the way." Keanu added, "This school belongs to all of you. It's a testament to your strength, your resilience, and your belief in a better future." The applause was thunderous, and for a moment, Beyoncé and Keanu stood side by side, soaking in the joy and gratitude that filled the air. Their work in the village marked the beginning of a new era for Project Ignite. Over the next few years, they replicated the model in communities across the globe, each project tailored to the unique needs and cultures of the people they served. From remote islands in the Pacific to inner-city neighborhoods in the United States, the initiative became a force for change, breaking down barriers and giving young people the tools to thrive. But with success came new challenges. The logistics of managing a global operation were daunting, and both Beyoncé and Keanu found themselves stretched thin. Late nights and early mornings became the norm, and the pressure to meet the growing expectations of the initiative weighed heavily on them. One evening, as they sat in a hotel lobby after a long day of meetings, Beyoncé let out a weary sigh. "Do you ever feel like we're trying to do too much?" she asked, her voice tinged with exhaustion. Keanu nodded, his own fatigue evident. "All the time. But then I remember why we're doing this. It's not about us, it's about them." Beyoncé smiled faintly. "You're right. But we also need to take care of ourselves. If we burn out, we're not helping anyone." Keanu leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "Maybe it's time to bring in more help. We've built something incredible, but we can't do it all alone." The conversation marked a turning point. Beyoncé and Keanu began delegating more responsibilities, trusting a team of dedicated leaders and experts to carry forward their vision. It wasn't easy for them to step back, but it was a necessary step to ensure the sustainability of Project Ignite. As the initiative continued to flourish, Beyoncé and Keanu found new ways to inspire and connect with the people they served. They began hosting an annual Project Ignite festival, bringing together participants from around the world to share their stories, showcase their talents, and celebrate the power of creativity. The festival became a highlight of the year, drawing thousands of attendees and shining a spotlight on the incredible work being done in communities everywhere. Beyoncé often performed at the event, while Keanu led workshops and discussions, sharing his wisdom and encouragement. During one such festival, a young poet named Javier took the stage. His spoken word performance, inspired by his experiences growing up in a marginalized neighborhood, left the audience in awe. As he stepped off the stage, Beyoncé and Keanu were waiting to greet him. "You have a gift," Beyoncé said, her eyes shining with admiration. "Keep sharing your voice with the world." Javier beamed. "Thank you. I wouldn't be here without Project Ignite. You've given me the chance to believe in myself." Keanu placed a hand on Javier's shoulder. "You've done the hard work, Javier. We're just here to support you. And we can't wait to see what you do next." As the years passed, the impact of Project Ignite continued to grow, touching countless lives and inspiring new generations of dreamers and changemakers. Beyoncé and Keanu remained at the heart of the initiative, their partnership a testament to the power of collaboration and shared purpose. Their journey had begun in the chaos of a fire, but from those flames, they had built something extraordinary, a legacy of hope, resilience, and transformation that would endure for generations to come. And though their paths often took them in different directions, Beyoncé and Keanu's bond remained unbreakable. They knew that together, they could ignite a spark that would light the way for others, proving that even the smallest acts of courage and kindness could change the world. As Project Ignite entered its 10th year, it had become a symbol of hope and transformation worldwide. Beyoncé and Keanu had achieved what many believed impossible, turning a single shared moment of chaos into a global movement that changed lives. The initiative had built schools, trained thousands of teachers, and nurtured a generation of artists, engineers, writers, and leaders. Its story was one of perseverance, collaboration, and the belief that no dream was too big. However, Beyoncé and Keanu began to realize that the more the organization grew, the more distant they felt from its everyday work. While their global influence helped raise funding and support, they missed the one-on-one connections that had fueled their passion in the early years. It was the personal stories, the faces and voices of those they'd helped, that had kept them going through the challenges. One day, during a rare quiet moment at a foundation meeting, Beyoncé voiced her thoughts. "Keanu, do you ever feel like we're losing touch with the people we started this for?" He looked up from his notebook, his expression pensive. "I do. The work is bigger than it's ever been, but sometimes it feels distant." Beyoncé leaned forward. "I've been thinking, what if we took a step back from the spotlight, not from the work, but from the global tours and the big events? What if we spent some time on the ground, in the communities we've built?" Keanu nodded slowly, a small smile forming. "Back to the roots." "Exactly," Beyoncé said. "Let's meet the kids, the teachers, the families. Let's remind ourselves why we started this." The decision was made, and within weeks, Beyoncé and Keanu began a quiet journey to visit the communities that Project Ignite had touched. They traveled without fanfare or media coverage, wanting to experience these places as genuinely as possible. Their first stop was a village in Central America where Project Ignite had helped build a school and a community arts center. As they arrived, they were greeted by children singing and dancing, their joy infectious. Beyoncé and Keanu spent the day painting murals with the kids, listening to their stories, and joining in their laughter. One boy, named Diego, showed them a sculpture he had made, a small figure carved from wood. "It's a hero," he explained shyly. "Like you." Keanu knelt to examine the sculpture. "This is incredible, Diego. You're talented." Diego's eyes lit up. "Do you think I could be an artist one day?" "Not could," Beyoncé said, smiling warmly. "You already are." From there, they visited a school in a remote part of Asia, where they met a group of teenage girls who had started a coding club through Project Ignite's mentorship program. The girls demonstrated the apps they had created, including one that helped connect farmers to local markets. "This is amazing," Keanu said, genuinely impressed. "You're solving real problems." One of the girls, Artie, hesitated before speaking. "We couldn't have done it without Project Ignite. Before this, we didn't even have computers." Beyoncé placed a hand on Artie's shoulder. "You've taken what you were given and turned it into something extraordinary. That's all you. And I can't wait to see where you take it next." Their journey continued, taking them to cities, towns, and villages across continents. Each place brought new faces, new stories, and new inspiration. In one community, they met a teacher who had used Project Ignite's resources to start a drama program for at-risk youth. In another, they visited a refugee camp where a library funded by the initiative had become a sanctuary for children eager to learn. Through it all, Beyoncé and Keanu felt their passion reignite. They remembered why they had started this journey, and they saw firsthand the ripple effects of their work. Every interaction reinforced their belief that even the smallest spark could ignite a flame of change. One particularly memorable visit was to a school in the heart of a bustling city. The school was tucked away in a neglected neighborhood, but inside, it was alive with creativity and energy. Students had transformed their classrooms into vibrant spaces filled with art, music, and innovation. As Beyoncé and Keanu toured the school, a young girl named Mia approached them with a notebook. "I wrote something for you," she said nervously. Beyoncé knelt beside her. "Can I hear it?" Mia nodded and began to read a poem she had written about hope, resilience, and believing in yourself. Her voice trembled at first but grew stronger with every word. By the time she finished, Beyoncé and Keanu were visibly moved. "That was beautiful, Mia," Beyoncé said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have an incredible gift." Mia beamed. "Thank you. I want to write books one day." "You will," Keanu said with certainty, "and will be first in line to read them." As their journey came to an end, Beyoncé and Keanu returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. They had reconnected with the heart of Project Ignite, the people whose lives it had touched, and they knew they wanted to share those stories with the world. Together, they decided to create a documentary that would capture the essence of their journey. Titled Ignite the World, the film would showcase the communities they had visited, the challenges they had faced, and the incredible resilience and creativity of the people they had met. The project became a labor of love, with Beyoncé and Keanu working closely with filmmakers, writers, and participants to ensure the documentary told an authentic and powerful story. They traveled back to several of the communities, filming interviews and capturing the beauty and strength of the people. When Ignite the World premiered at a major film festival, it received a standing ovation. Critics praised its honesty and emotional depth, and audiences were inspired by the stories of transformation and hope. The documentary not only raised awareness for Project Ignite but also sparked a global conversation about the importance of education, creativity, and community. At the premiere, Beyoncé and Keanu took the stage to address the audience. "This film isn't about us," Beyoncé said. "It's about the people who have shown us what it means to dream, to fight, and to believe in a better future. They're the true stars." Keanu added, "We hope this film inspires you to take action, to ignite change in your own way, wherever you are." The applause was thunderous, and as they stood together on stage, Beyoncé and Keanu felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had taken a single moment of chaos and fear and turned it into a movement that had changed the world. As the years went by, Project Ignite continued to grow, driven by the passion and dedication of its participants and leaders. Beyoncé and Keanu remained at its heart, their bond stronger than ever. They knew that their journey was far from over, that there were still more dreams to nurture, more lives to touch, and more stories to tell. And as they looked back on all they had accomplished, they felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the success of Project Ignite, but for the journey that had brought them together. It was a journey of courage, compassion, and connection. A journey that proved the power of a single spark to ignite a flame that could light up the world. After the overwhelming success of Ignite the World, Beyoncé and Keanu found themselves at the center of a renewed wave of enthusiasm for Project Ignite. The documentary not only raised awareness but also inspired countless individuals, corporations, and governments to support initiatives that prioritized education and creativity. The ripple effect was extraordinary. Donors offered more funding than ever, volunteers signed up in droves, and new partnerships blossomed. Despite the flurry of attention, Beyoncé and Keanu stayed true to their original mission. They had learned the importance of balance, and rather than being consumed by the scale of their work, they focused on maintaining a personal connection with the communities they served. One evening, as they reviewed the latest reports on Project Ignite's global expansion, Beyoncé had an idea. "Keanu," she said, her tone contemplative, "what if we created a leadership program?" Keanu looked up from his tablet. "Leadership? For who?" "For the kids," she explained. "We've seen so much talent and potential in these communities. What if we gave them the tools to become leaders in their own right? To not just dream, but to lead the way for others?" Keanu smiled, nodding. "I like that. It's not just about giving them opportunities, it's about teaching them how to create opportunities for others." Together, they began drafting plans for what would become the Ignite Leadership Academy. The program would provide young people with mentorship, training in leadership and entrepreneurship, and the resources to implement community projects. Participants would learn to navigate challenges, inspire others, and turn their ideas into tangible change. The Ignite Leadership Academy launched a year later, starting with a pilot program in 3 countries. Beyoncé and Keanu personally mentored the first cohort of students, sharing their experiences and guiding them through the program. The young leaders, chosen for their creativity, passion, and determination, came from diverse backgrounds but shared a common goal: to make a difference. Among the first participants was a boy named Elias from a small town in South America. Elias had a vision of turning an abandoned community center into a hub for education and the arts. With the Academy's support, he developed a plan, gathered volunteers, and secured funding to bring his vision to life. When Beyoncé and Keanu visited the newly refurbished center, they were amazed. The space was filled with vibrant murals, a small library, and a performance area where children practiced music and dance. "This is incredible, Elias," Beyoncé said, her voice filled with pride. "You've created something that will change lives." Elias smiled, his eyes shining. "You believed in me. That's all I needed." The Academy's impact was immediate and profound. Graduates went on to lead initiatives in their own communities, addressing issues like education, environmental conservation, and social justice. They became role models, inspiring others to take action and proving that leadership wasn't about age or status, it was about vision and courage. For Beyoncé and Keanu, the Academy represented the next evolution of Project Ignite. It was a way to ensure that the movement would continue to grow, even beyond their involvement. But it was also deeply personal. Through their work with the young leaders, they saw reflections of their own journeys, moments of doubt and triumph, fear and resilience. As the years went on, Beyoncé and Keanu found themselves increasingly in demand as global advocates for education and creativity. They spoke at international summits, advising policymakers and inspiring audiences with the story of Project Ignite. But no matter how far their influence spread, they remained committed to the people at the heart of their work. One of their most memorable moments came during a visit to a refugee camp in the Middle East. The camp's makeshift school had been transformed by Project Ignite, with students creating art, writing stories, and learning skills that gave them hope for the future. While walking through the camp, Beyoncé and Keanu met a young girl named Noor. Despite the hardships she had faced, Noor radiated confidence and determination. She showed them a series of paintings she had created, each one depicting scenes of resilience and unity. "These are beautiful, Noor," Keanu said, his voice filled with admiration. "What inspires you?" Noor hesitated before answering. "My family," she said. "Even when things are hard, we stick together. That's what gives me strength." Beyoncé placed a hand on Noor's shoulder. "You're incredibly strong, Noor. And your art is a gift to the world. Keep sharing your voice." Noor smiled, her expression one of quiet pride. "I will." Noor's story, like so many others, became a reminder of why Beyoncé and Keanu continued their work, even when it felt overwhelming. They knew that every small act of kindness, every opportunity created, could have a ripple effect that transformed lives. But even as they celebrated the successes of Project Ignite, they remained grounded in the lessons they had learned over the years. They understood that change didn't happen overnight and that progress required patience, humility, and collaboration. One evening, as they sat together reviewing plans for the next phase of the initiative, Keanu turned to Beyoncé. "Do you ever think about what we've built?" he asked. "How it all started?" Beyoncé smiled, her gaze distant. "All the time. That night, it was terrifying, but it also showed me what really matters. People. Connection." Keanu nodded. "It's funny, isn't it? Out of all that chaos, something beautiful was born." "It was," Beyoncé agreed. "And it reminds me that even in the darkest moments, there's always a spark waiting to ignite." As they looked ahead to the future, Beyoncé and Keanu knew there was still much work to be done. But they also knew they weren't alone. They had built a movement, a family of dreamers, doers, and changemakers who shared their vision of a brighter world. And as they continued their journey, they carried with them the stories of the people who had inspired them, the lessons they had learned, and the belief that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire that would light up the world. Their bond, forged in the heat of a moment they would never forget, remained unbreakable. Together, they had created something extraordinary, something that would endure for generations to come. And for Beyoncé and Keanu, that was the greatest reward of all. The 10th anniversary of Project Ignite marked a monumental milestone. It was a celebration not only of the initiative's accomplishments but also of the countless lives it had touched and transformed. Beyoncé and Keanu decided to host the event in a city that had come to embody the spirit of their mission, Detroit. Detroit's recovery from economic hardship mirrored the resilience and creativity that Project Ignite championed. The city's art, music, and entrepreneurial energy had flourished in recent years, thanks in part to grassroots efforts and initiatives that had helped uplift its residents. The celebration was held in a massive renovated warehouse that had been transformed into a vibrant hub for creativity. The space was decorated with murals painted by students from Project Ignite, and the air buzzed with excitement as participants, educators, and supporters gathered to honor the occasion. Beyoncé and Keanu walked through the crowd, taking time to speak with attendees. They were joined by graduates of the Ignite Leadership Academy, who had returned to share their stories and inspire others. Each graduate had their own unique journey, but they all carried the same message: anything was possible with support, vision, and determination. One of the graduates, a young woman named Sophia, approached Beyoncé with tears in her eyes. "You changed my life," she said. "Because of Project Ignite, I was able to start my own nonprofit to help girls in my community get access to education." Beyoncé hugged Sophia tightly. "You changed your life," she said. "We just gave you the tools. You're the one who made it happen." Sophia smiled through her tears. "Thank you for believing in me." The evening featured performances, speeches, and showcases of Project Ignite's work. Beyoncé took the stage to perform a set of her most heartfelt songs, dedicating one of them to the students and educators who had made the initiative a success. Her voice soared through the venue, bringing the audience to its feet. When it was Keanu's turn to speak, he kept his words simple but powerful. "This isn't just a celebration of what we've done, it's a call to action for what we can still achieve. Each of you has the power to ignite change, to inspire others, and to make the world a better place. Let's keep going." The applause was thunderous, and as Keanu stepped off the stage, Beyoncé joined him. "You're a natural," she teased. Keanu chuckled. "I just say what I feel. And tonight I feel inspired." As the night continued, the energy in the room was electric. People shared their stories, connected with one another, and celebrated the impact of Project Ignite. But for Beyoncé and Keanu, the most meaningful moments were the quiet ones, like standing in a corner of the venue, watching a group of students proudly present their artwork to an audience. "This," Beyoncé said softly, "is what it's all about." Keanu nodded. "Seeing them thrive. Knowing we had a small part in making this possible." "A big part," Beyoncé corrected. "We may not always realize it, but what we started here, it matters." Keanu smiled. "It does. And it'll keep growing long after we're gone." As the anniversary celebration drew to a close, Beyoncé and Keanu stood together on stage for the final remarks. The crowd quieted as Beyoncé spoke, her voice steady and full of emotion. "10 years ago, we had a dream: to ignite a spark in the hearts of young people around the world. Today, that spark has grown into a flame, fueled by your passion, your creativity, and your resilience. This is your movement, your legacy. And we're so proud to stand with you." Keanu stepped forward, his tone reflective. "Every journey begins with a single step. Ours began on a night we'll never forget, a night that showed us the power of courage and connection. And now, it's taken us here, to this moment, surrounded by all of you. Thank you for believing in this vision, for being part of this journey, and for showing us that together, we can change the world." The applause that followed was deafening, a resounding testament to the impact of their work. In the months that followed the anniversary, Beyoncé and Keanu found themselves reflecting on what Project Ignite had taught them. Not just about the power of creativity and education, but about the importance of collaboration and humility. They had started as two individuals brought together by chance, but over the years, they had become partners, friends, and advocates for a cause that transcended them. One day, as they sat in a cafe discussing the next phase of the initiative, Beyoncé turned to Keanu with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about what's next? Not just for Project Ignite, but for us?" Keanu leaned back, his gaze distant. "I do. And I think what's next is ensuring this work continues, even when we're not in the picture. Building something that lasts?" Beyoncé nodded. "Legacy." "Exactly," Keanu said. "But not just ours. The legacy of everyone we've helped and inspired." With that in mind, Beyoncé and Keanu began focusing on sustainability. They worked with their team to establish an endowment fund that would ensure Project Ignite could continue to operate for generations. They also created a council of young leaders, graduates of the Ignite Leadership Academy, to guide the initiative into the future. At the council's first meeting, Beyoncé and Keanu addressed the group, their pride evident. "You are the future of Project Ignite," Beyoncé said. "Your ideas, your passion, and your leadership will take this movement to places we can't even imagine." Keanu added, "We started this, but it's yours now. Lead with courage, with compassion, and with the belief that anything is possible." The council members responded with enthusiasm, ready to take on the challenge. As their roles in Project Ignite shifted, Beyoncé and Keanu found themselves with more time to reflect on their journey. They began working on a memoir together, documenting the highs and lows of their partnership and the lessons they had learned along the way. The writing process was cathartic, allowing them to revisit the moments that had defined their work. From the chaos of the fire that had brought them together to the triumphs and challenges of building a global movement, each chapter was a reminder of how far they had come. The memoir, titled From Ashes to Ignite, became an instant bestseller. Readers were moved by its honesty, humor, and heart, and many found inspiration in the story of two people who had turned a single moment of crisis into a lifetime of purpose. As the years went on, Beyoncé and Keanu remained connected to Project Ignite in spirit, even as they stepped back from their active roles. They watched with pride as the initiative continued to grow, led by the next generation of leaders they had helped inspire. And though their paths often took them in different directions, their bond remained unbreakable. They had shared something extraordinary, a partnership built on trust, respect, and a shared belief in the power of hope and creativity. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of Beyoncé's home, watching the sun set over the horizon, Keanu turned to her with a smile. "We did good," he said simply. Beyoncé returned his smile. "We did. And it's just the beginning." As the sky turned shades of orange and pink, they sat in comfortable silence, knowing that their story was far from over. Together, they had ignited a flame that would burn brightly for generations, a legacy of courage, compassion, and the belief that even in the darkest moments, there was always light.